All right, in this video, we're gonna go over 10 unexpected costs of living in Calgary. With so many people moving here, they just don't always think about some of the things that cost you money that may be something you just don't expect. So we're gonna go through all that in this video, so stick around. I think you're gonna like it. Okay, unexpected cost number one is windshield repairs. And if you've never been to Calgary in the winter, they put gravel on the road when it snows here. And it's just kind of crazy because if you're passing a snow plow, you got all these rocks just, hitting your windshield, or even if you're just driving down the Deerfoot, for example, you can just get rocks hitting your windshield. So it's pretty common to get these chips. Now, a little tip for you, if you get on it quick enough, you can actually get your chips repaired. You don't have to get a new windshield. But if you wait too long, what'll happen is, especially as it gets cold, those little chips, they'll turn into a big crack, and then all of a sudden you'll get cracks all over the windshield and you're gonna have to replace the windshield. And this catches people by surprise. And I can tell you, if you drive a lot like I do, you can go through a couple of windshields a year. Pretty easy in living in this town. So put that one on your list of expenses that you might have to incur if you're gonna live here. All right, second is vehicle related costs, because living in Calgary and being close to the mountains, everybody wants to go out to the mountains, which means you're gonna take some trips out there. And when you take trips out onto the highway, you wanna be sure that your vehicle is roadworthy. And of course, in the winter time, I really recommend getting snow tires. In fact, if you've not been to BC requires you to have snow tires. And a lot of people drive out to BC because BC is not very far from here in Calgary. So snow tires is definitely something you're gonna have to put on your list of expenses. But also, be very careful with the maintenance of your vehicle, because the last thing you want to have happen is breaking down on Highway 1. And I come in from Canmore a lot, and I can tell you, I see cars always broken down. It's either a flat tire, or maybe their vehicle just wasn't maintained, didn't get their oil changes done properly, didn't get their, all of their vehicle checked out in the fall to be sure that everything was roadworthy. But that's a dangerous highway. You don't want to be stuck on that. So make sure you factor in getting your vehicle regularly maintained, so it's always roadworthy to go on the highway if you're going to live here. All right, unexpected cost number three, air conditioner and generator. Let's talk about air conditioner first. Now, a lot of people figure, hey, it's Calgary, we don't need air conditioning, right? Because it's not that hot in the summertime. Well, it has actually, with climate change, it's actually got warmer in the summer. Last summer it was really hot. I mean, you might only have 3 weeks in the summer where it's extremely hot, but I can tell you, in those 3 weeks, if you're living in like a 2-story house and even a west backyard, and all that sun is hitting the back of your house in the summer, your upstairs is like an oven. And I think that for the average person, you're just not going to be able to survive that. I think air conditioning now is going to be something you're going to have to incur. Now, if you're coming from Eastern Canada, almost everybody already has one, but there's a ton of houses that don't have air conditioners. Or even if you're going to rent for a while, you may have to get a portable one even to survive, because some of these condos, the same thing. If you're living in the top floor of a condo complex and there's no air conditioning, you're going to really suffer through. Now, the other thing that we get in Calgary is a lot of lightning storms in the summertime. And sometimes these lightning storms cause the power to go out for a while. I would also factor in a generator. I think a generator, they're not too expensive. You can pick them up for as little as $500, but sometimes you can be without power for hours while they get things going again after these lightning storms. So put that in your budget. All right, the next expense, it's kind of a funny one, but it's so dry here. I mean, like right now it's January and it's the driest month of the year, my goodness. And especially if the temperature dips down to like -15 or colder, it's ridiculous how dry it is. Number one, you're gonna wanna get a humidifier in your house, because if you don't have some kind of humidifier in your house, or at least a really good humidifier on your furnace, your nose is gonna get dry and it's just gonna be very uncomfortable. Your sinuses get clogged up. It's just, it's not good. So factor a humidifier in, or like I said, a really good humidifier on your furnace. And definitely, you're gonna load up on the lotion, you're gonna be loading up on the chapstick for your lips. You're gonna need this stuff living here. believe me, come prepared. You're going to spend quite a bit of money. You'll never spend this much money on lotion than living in Calgary. All right, let's talk about insurance costs. Not a lot of people think about insurance. Well, first of all, vehicle insurance in Alberta is considered to be expensive, and you're going to want to have really good vehicle insurance because, believe me, when there's bad weather, we get a lot of car accidents. And unless you're a phenomenal driver, but even if you are a phenomenal driver, there's always the driver that isn't. And you're going to want to have that kind of insurance coverage, like, for example, having an extra vehicle to use when yours is in the shop. Those kind of things you want to really factor in for living here in Alberta. Then there's insurance costs for your house, and this gets pretty tricky, and you really want to do your research on this because we have people living in flood zones. We have people living in just areas that insurance companies don't particularly like, or maybe the house has poly B piping, for example, and some insurance companies don't like poly B piping. They're going to take a look and see, do you have vinyl siding? Because maybe you are in a zone that gets a lot of hail, and all of these factor into what kind of an insurance coverage cost you're going to have, and you're going to want to really read your policy carefully because you don't want to wait until that hailstorm happens to find out what kind of coverage you actually do have. And also sewer backup is a big one too, especially some of the older neighborhoods of Calgary. You can get into a sewer backup situation because the lines are getting old and it can get clogged and it can cause problems. So insurance is a big deal, and you're going to want to really understand what you're doing. All right, winter gear. Well, of course, we do have winter here for quite a long time, and but it goes back to what I said earlier in this video. People really do enjoy the outdoors here. And we like to go to the mountains, and of course, you're going to want to be able to go on some hikes, and you want to be able to really enjoy the outdoors. And I see people do this all the time, especially out in the mountains. I spend a lot of time in Canmore, and you'll see people walking down Main Street in Canmore, and they've got a hoodie on and it's minus 15 degrees, and I'm wondering what the heck they're doing. You can really enjoy the outdoors if you are prepared for it, okay? That's what it comes down to. And if you're gonna spend 2, 3, 4 hours outside, even if it's only -5, if you've got a really warm jacket, the right headgear, the right boots, the right gloves, it becomes enjoyable. You don't mind being outside. And please do me a big favor as well. If you have a pet, your pet does get cold, so you're going to have to get a jacket and maybe even some booties for your dog or your cat if you take them outside. I see people at the dog park all the time, and they got the booties on, and the dogs love it. They get used to it. I think at first they don't love it, but then they get used to it. So factor this into your budget, but do me a big favor. If you want to live here, just don't cheap out on the outdoor wear. Get a good jacket, get good gloves, spend the money. I promise you it's worth it, and these jackets last for years. All right, let's just talk about your recreational budget. Again, a lot of times people don't think about this, but because we do have a long winter as well, not everybody likes the outdoors. There's going to be one of the things you're going to want to do indoors. Depending on who you are, you might really be into arts, into music, and that sort of thing. Well, we do have an amazing venue all year long in Calgary for these type of events, and so you can put that into your budget. But of course, all these things do cost money. You have to pick these things out that you want to go to. Even if you're into going to see the Calgary Flames hockey team, it's a big deal. People love going to see the Flames. People love going to see the Calgary Hitmen play hockey, and all these other venues. It keeps you busy during the winter time if you're not really an outdoor person. So factor that in for sure into your budget. Recreation's a big deal, and you want to partake of it. But keep in mind, you can have a really good mix here in Calgary of indoor versus outdoor, and always because that mountain lifestyle is right available to us. So, and our weather fluctuates so much in the winter time. You can have a -20 day, Chinook comes in, 2 days later, it's 0. So maybe during -20, you're going to a concert, 2 days later, you're going on a hike. So that's the good mixture you can have living in Calgary with that lifestyle. So you don't have to break the bank for doing these activities, but definitely look at your budget and make sure you have enough for it. All right, now there's parking downtown. Now, every major city in Canada has a problem with parking downtown, but we're no different. If you do have to work downtown, hopefully you don't, but if you do, you're going to have to make a choice. Do I take public transit to get downtown, which I can tell you it has its challenges too, because the C train gets absolutely crammed in there. You're like a sardine in the morning getting downtown on that C train. And then if you want to drive down, you do have to fight the traffic, but then you got to pay for parking. And I can tell you it's not cheap. Depends on where you are downtown and where you want to park. But I've heard stories of people paying as much as $600–700 a month in parking, and as little as about $100 a month in parking. So factor that into your budget. Well, one thing about living in Calgary, you have to remember, we are, we're 3-hour drive from the Montana border. And even if you do cross into Montana, there's really nothing in Montana anyway. So to really go anywhere interesting, you're either heading west, maybe out to the coast, or you're heading far east, into Ontario or beyond, or we go south. And of course, when you're this far from everything, that means getting on an airplane. So if you're going to live in Calgary, you just don't have the luxury as much as just getting into the car and driving, unless you really want to do a long road trip. So as part of your lifestyle, if you do like to travel, you are going to have to get on an airplane, and you're going to be traveling distances to get anywhere from Calgary. The good news is, though, we do have an amazing international airport. It's fantastic. They did a great job expanding it a few years ago. Very, very well run. We have direct flights to, a lot of different places. So it's nice that we do have these direct flights, but I know if you have to go to Toronto all the time, for example, it's still 4 hours, so factor that in. All right, the last one, and you may never even think about this one, but living in Alberta, we have to import all of our fruits and vegetables, especially in the summertime, and most of it comes from California. And I got to tell you, it's ridiculous. Like, our fruits and vegetables, they don't look great this time of year in the middle of winter, and they are expensive. I mean, the cost of bringing them in really does increase. And people are a little surprised. You can see people when you go to the supermarket, and you'll see people look at them and go, "Ooh, wow, look at the price of those oranges. I've never seen oranges that expensive." And I'll say, "Well, where are you from?" And they'll say, "Oh, I'm from Vancouver." Yeah, well, it's a little cheaper for oranges in Vancouver than it is Alberta. So that's just the way it is here, and you have to really factor that into your budget. All right, well, do me a big favor. Send me some comments if you think there's anything I might have missed in this video as far as some unexpected costs. I tried to think of everything, but it's not easy to think of absolutely everything. So I love hearing your comments. That would be great. If this video has been helpful, of course, give it the thumbs up. You can like it, and you can subscribe, because I do these videos weekly.